going on, everybody? Culturedog here with a video that I've been talking about forever and been meaning to put out, and just finally got myself organized on to drop. And in the midst of doing all my other Spotlight reviews and the new LaserDisc Essentials series, I figured it'd be fun to mix this in the middle. And plus, my buddy Carl was requesting it lately, so this one's going out to you, buddy. Yes, I am a huge fan of Fight Club, a film that came out in 1999, and I don't have it with me. I do have somewhere, I think because on the flip side there was a bunch of settings for my new receiver I bought, but I have all the original times of the first day I went to go see it, because I wasn't sure what time I was going to go see the flick on a Friday night, and I was an early adopter of Fight Club. I had seen the trailer, and I immediately got the vibe of what the film was going for from the trailer, whereas a lot of people did not. And it was just heralded as this kind of celebration of violence and meatheadedness, etc. And I was a huge David Fincher fan already out of the gate. But I was pretty disappointed in the game. I still think that's his weakest movie, and it's not really his fault. It's just the script. But I saw Fight Club's trailer, and I thought, oh, this is going to be really cool. So I went to go see it on opening night. Then I went to go see it the night after that. And I went to go see it twice every weekend for the rest of its screening, and then a couple times at revival screenings too. And yeah, I've seen it at least, not too many times, like 10 or 12 times in the theaters. And of course, had to get it on video, and I've seen it a ton of times on video. But Fight Club, it was a film like a lot of people like my age, connected with. And it's funny now, because now it's kind of looked down as if you're a fan of Fight Club, it's almost like a derogatory thing, because you're looked down upon as a meathead again, essentially, and someone who thinks they're deep but isn't deep and all that. And that was one of the things that confounded critics in particular about Fight Club early on, was that it posited all these kind of outrageous thoughts and concepts early on about what it was like to be a man coming of age in his 30s in modern day, in a world loaded with divorce and that kind of scenario, and how you have to grow up, and in this kind of extreme situation, the way this character comes of age is to go insane, basically. But a lot of the concepts early on, the kind of self-help kind of stuff through the filter of Tyler Durden, Brad Pitt's character. I remember Roger Ebert in particular, and a couple other critics were disappointed that it didn't make this grand conclusion out of it. And in fact, as the film progresses, and there may be spoilers in here, sorry if you haven't seen Fight Club, you probably don't want to watch this video, but as the film progresses, it tells you that it is in a way lampooning and making fun of a lot of this kind of premature enlightenment that's talked about in the film, and that people that will just kind of go, yeah, man, yeah, that's the ticket, and go along with it, which is kind of what the space monkeys become in the film. So there's a lot of layers of commentary, and the fact that it starts to spiral out and become a little zanier and crazy, and ultimately kind of following the old tried and true structure of, in order to grow up, you have to kill your parents and kill God and then kill your teacher, and then it's kind of writ large in this story of insanity and split personalities, etc. And but I mean, as the film goes on and it starts to reject a lot of the teachings of Tyler Durden, a lot of people were disappointed that the film didn't kind of conclude its own grand manifesto and teach us all about modern life and how we should act and be and everything like that. So I thought it was great. Jim Uhls' adaptation of Chuck Palahniuk's book, I thought was really, really good, and it solved some issues. Even Chuck Palahniuk mentions on the commentary track on the DVD they solved some of the issues that the original story had. But yeah, one of the things I loved about the film, we'll get into some of the more mundane things in my collection. And I do understand right off the bat the kind of ironic scenario I find myself in which I have a Fight Club collection, dedicated to a film that espouses separating yourself from your personal belongings, and the things you own end up owning you. So yeah, I get that. So I'm sure commenter number 5 down below will point that out to me again, anyways. But this one's going out to you. But yeah, so one of the things I loved about the film was the Dust Brothers soundtrack, and this is the original pressing. Nothing major here. I don't have the vinyl version or anything cool like that. Maybe at one point I will. And there was even a second pressing of this, I think, that had a bonus track, like a remix with a bunch of like clips of Tyler Durden talking or something to that effect. But great soundtrack. I know Brad Pitt was looking to get Radiohead involved, which would have been a cool idea, but they had to settle for the Dust Brothers, which was another cool idea, and great stuff. So that was one of the first things I bought, merchandising of the film. And of course, me being a total poser, I had not read the book until I saw the film, so I had to go out and get the Chuck Palahniuk book. And the way that the literary world lets you know that you're a poser is that they rebrand anything that's adapted as a film with the poster art and everything. So if you buy it, everyone else will know you saw the movie first, and you're not that cool. So I'm the guy that saw the movie first, then went out and picked up the book. And it's largely, faithful and similar. The book is a little nastier in point. They do take human lives, though it's in a clever kind of fashion. One of those murder mysteries where a murder actually happens, but it's one of those things once you're holidaying through murder, or you're treating murder as a vacation or a kind of fun event. It's kind of a cute little twist, I guess, to have actual murder take place in it. But the movie didn't get as nasty as that. The original script, which I'll talk about a little bit later, did maintain some of the events that took place in this, where the narrator's talking about urinating on the Blarney Stone when he was vacationing in Ireland and that kind of stuff. And there's some different things with Marla in here as well. Then, of course, I was super excited about getting it on video. But, actually, a couple other things I got first. Pretty much anything that was supporting the film in the press. I had to get the Cinefex issue, which has Sleepy Hollow, Stuart Little, and Fight Club in here. And it's really cool because it talks about the obviously all the CG work that was done from like Boof Compagnie and some of the other companies that did the opening titles that are copied quite often after this. And these are some of the things that were in the script that change once you get someone like David Fincher involved, like the penguin actually being a CG penguin, that sort of stuff, and the the airplane scene. But then Tony about like the translate that they used for the ending with the all the credit card companies on the horizon blowing up and that kind of stuff. So pretty fascinating, really good early look into the effects before the DVD came out. I also picked up the, of course it's got Bringing Out the Dead on the cover, but the American Cinematographer issue, which has an interview with Jeff Cronenweth, who's the director of photography and son of Jordan Cronenweth, who you'd seen his work on stuff like Blade Runner. But yeah, it's got a pretty good article in here. I also had to pick up the October 99 copy of Film Comment, which has a really good interview with David Fincher in it, wherein he broaches a lot of the subjects that he covers in the DVD commentary. But, just kind of boiling down the story to a basic Twilight Zone-esque kind of story. And, I guess how you shouldn't get your panties in a bunch if you're disappointed that it's not any more than that, per se. I also got this British magazine, The Face, which had a good interview with a Tyler Durdenized version of Edward Norton on the cover. Pretty good article in there as well. Edward Norton kind of talks about his philosophy behind the film, and of course David Fincher's as well. And I think it gets into that whole concept of the character going on this journey, killing his parents, God, and eventually his teacher, and the kind of Buddhist trappings of the story. And I don't know where this came from too, but I also got this cool Bitch Tits Bob ad from some magazine. It was either Empire or something like that. It's got an End of Days thing on the back, but I clipped that out. I figured one of these days I'll put that in a little frame and keep that somewhere cool. And then I had to go up to my source for all things posters and scripts, and picked up a copy of the first Jim Uhls draft of Fight Club. And this thing's from October of 1996 and is about 145 pages, so pretty long. and in-depth. And it's similar to the movie, but again, a lot of the kind of zazz and the visual flair comes from David Fincher, and a lot of the more kind of playful moments that get added in it, I'm sure, are redrafts and etc. This is a little bit more stricter and faithful of an adaptation of the book, and it does get a little bit weirder towards the end. Marla, they actually the space monkeys and under Jack, aka Tyler's orders, I think they gang rape her, and then they tie her up naked from a lamppost, something crazy like that. So the ending gets a little weirder and a little more different from the movie, but it's a pretty cool read. It's definitely interesting what they do, and a lot of the intricacies of the relationship between Tyler and Jack and Marla hadn't been worked out, and a lot of the scenes are moved around considerably too, like the scene where Tyler goes to get Marla when she's overdosing. I think they don't even send Tyler. I think Jack goes there to get her when she's overdosing, and that scene's moved up in the film. And yeah, things were definitely fine-tuned over a few more drafts, but very interesting read for sure. And then along came the video. Well, I did get some other things in the meantime, but I'll talk about those a little bit later. And I was definitely needing to get this on DVD, and of course you've probably seen this a billion times by now, but I actually went as far as to friend somebody who worked at Fox 2000, and I got a copy of the film like about a month before it came out, because they had copies. They were probably sending out to press, but I wasn't really press at the time. I was just a fan. And I conned them into sending me a copy of the Fight Club double disc in the brown wrapper. It was actually pretty cool packaging. I actually appreciated this disc. It didn't have all the bonus features you want. Actually, it does have great commentaries. It's got 4 commentaries and some good stuff. But I mean, compared to some of the later things like the multi-disc Panic Room Special Edition, there's still got to be like a Criterion-worthy Fight Club release out there. But great packaging, and pretty cool booklet. One of the neat things it did too in this was it gave you kind of frame by frame look into the press kit of the movie, which was one of my holy grails early on. Press kits, if you haven't run across them, and nowadays it's all digital anyways, it's not really a big thing anymore, but press kits are what they would send to usually newspapers or any kind of journalist covering a film with a bunch of info about the film, usually with some stapled together information with synopses and behind the scenes making of information and casting characters and that kind of stuff. So if you're writing a piece about the film, you'd have some sort of reference. Now the IMDb and all that does it for you. But Fight Club was a little bit different in its approach to the press kit. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. So I had to pick that up. Unfortunately, I didn't have the LaserDisc, and the LaserDisc was my holy grail. I bought a copy immediately on its release from CD Japan, and the order got canceled because they only made, I don't know how many, I think it was less than 1,000, and there were too many pre-orders versus what had been pressed, and a lot of orders were canceled, including mine. So sadly, I had to deal with just the DVD. I also recently picked up the Blu-ray. I've been hearing some things about like a lot of Blu-rays that they changed the color timing a little bit. I've yet to actually sit down and watch. This is the 10th anniversary edition. And it's got, I think, pretty much most of the features from the DVD ported over. There are a number of different Blu-rays. There's like a Comic-Con exclusive one. As I mentioned in my Testament review, I'm pretty much completely burnt out on all the different collectible packagings and steelbooks and all that stuff. Like, I like steelbooks. I like the way they look and everything like that. But I'm just not into manufactured collectability. Like, it's kind of cool, like, when, people like a film so much that they want to track down all the different versions of it from, different regions and stuff like that. But once that gets manufactured, that's, like, when I just want to, just give the middle finger to the people that are putting it together. Because they're just like, you bought this film. We know you're going to buy it again because you're a fan of it. So, that's where I kind of draw the line. So, I don't know. I'm not really collecting all the different collectible covers and versions of Fight Club yet. We'll see how that shakes down. So once I got the DVD, of course, being a fan of LaserDisc and DVD, I had to pick up the new issue of Widescreen magazine, which includes a lot of coverage about the making of the DVD, because it was kind of like a watershed release for that year. Very interesting, at least in terms of packaging, etc. So, unfortunately, they didn't do reviews of imported discs, so there was no review of the Japanese LaserDisc. But you have to deal with what you have to deal with. But yeah, they get the picture of 4.5, and I believe the sound, sound of 4.5 as well. And had pictures of both the case and the insert there. Yep, Widescreen review issue number 40. And it took a while, but I think this came out in 2008. But a film as kind of philosophically charged as Fight Club, it was inevitable that an essay collection would come out. So I got You Do Not Talk About Fight Club. And Chuck Palahniuk, they actually got to do a forward here, but a compilation of essays, unauthorized, of course, but pretty interesting stuff. You know, as with pretty much all of these, some are a little bit too academic and too dry, and you know, some have an agenda that you may or may not agree with. But it's interesting. It's good fodder for reading if you're thoughtful about Fight Club. And I picked that up. And one of the things I started getting immediately after the film came out was props. Back in the day, wow, Airborne Express box. Remember Airborne Express? Back in the day, Fox, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have an auction site where they would auction off all their props, unused props and stuff like that. And they weren't always necessarily movie-used props. Sometimes they'd be mass-produced props put together by the prop department that were never actually used. But I won quite a few auctions. I was trying to get just about everything Fight Club I got. I drew the line at the clothing. In fact, I just started dating my now fiance right when the DVD came out, and she's like watching the scenes with Brad Pitt and his multiple crazy outfits, and she's like, "Yeah, if you start wearing that kind of stuff, I don't know if we have a future." And I'm like, "Oh," because I was like just about to start bidding on some of the Fight Club clothing, which for the most part went for a lot. I think Ed Norton's long jacket coat went for a couple hundred though. But one of the things I got was, of course, the Fight Club rules that Jack leaves in his photocopier. First rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club. Second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. Third rule of Fight Club is when someone says stop or goes limp, the fight is over. The fourth rule of Fight Club is only two guys to a fight. Fifth rule of Fight Club is one fight at a time. Sixth rule of Fight Club is no shirt, no shoes. Seventh rule of Fight Club is fights go on as long as they have to. And the eighth and final rule of Fight Club, if this is your first night, you have to fight. So you got that. And then the other paper, actually I got quite a few papers, but I also got the St. James Baptist Church 12-step meetings group and support group meetings with Alcoholics Anonymous, Triumphant Tomorrows, Certain Resolve, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Adult Children of Alcoholics, Glorious Day, Taking Flight, Incest Survivors Group, Positive Positivity, one of my favorites. Yeah, all the kind of listings there. And that was a cool one to pick up. And I also got... it also came with all the little certificates of authenticity embossed and signed and everything like that, which is pretty cool. So I got all these. I'll let you thumb through them. Got one for every piece of merchandise that I got. I also got the occupied sign from the police interrogation room, where they later take Jack in and are going to do the ball trick on him. And what else do I got in here? I got a meeting directory for Bradford and outlying areas of self-help groups. Pretty cool little book, and it is actually filled with stuff. And this thing has been handled pretty heavily. It was actually used in the production of the film. What else do we got in here? I got a badge from the Federated Motor Corporation for one of the security guards that ushers Jack out of the building for Aaron Jonas, number 87410. So I've actually worn these to Fight Club screenings before because I'm a total nerd. And I also have the Recall Coordinator business card. Jack's Federated Motor Corporation Vehicle Recall Division, 39210 North Penfield Boulevard, Bradville. No state given. Of course, it's Maryland within the context of the film officially, but The telephone numbers and email fmcrec@telnex.com. So, pretty cool. And what else did I get? Oh, yeah. Also got a couple Paper Street Soap Company things. I got a oatmeal and vanilla bean wrapper that would eventually go around the soap. And I got a Paper Street Soap Company, makers of all natural handmade soaps, Invoice, like actual carbon invoice, on 537 Paper Street, Bradford. It's got the phone number in case you want to call. Say hi to Tyler and crew. I also got one of the newspapers, one of the pre-cut ones from when they cut up all the Space Monkey shenanigans, double-sided. Some of the articles on here: power outage at local mall, restaurant shuttered due to infestation, cat's parrot evicted, contaminated hairspray recalled, I love police sees excrement catapult, that's one of my favorites, performance artist molested, pie throwing terrorists disrupt sci-fi convention. That's a great one too. I'll go through all these and you can freeze frame to read the stories, but I love the excrement catapult. Police came to the rescue of several residents late last night after they were attacked by excrement-wielding hooligans. Wearing black, the youths assaulted the suburbs around 10 p.m., armed with a homemade catapult designed to hurl human feces at local residents. Suspects targeted 4 residential homes on Whispering Pines Avenue and attacked for approximately 45 minutes. The suspects were able to escape capture, but not before hurling several large loads onto the first officers to arrive. The officers, although not injured, expressed a great deal of concern. When you have a bunch of punks hurling expletive at folks, there is bound to be someone getting hurt. Not only that, but it's unsanitary, said Officer Reed. At first we thought it was just the local boys pulling a water balloon prank. I thought nothing of it until I finally stepped outside to scare them off. It was then that I was struck with about 5 pounds of feces, said one of the assaulted homeowners. Police are still trying to discover why the 4 homes were targeted. So, a lot of great stuff like that. I think there's even some inside jokes that some of the kind of prop department people, some of the names of the people interviewed and stuff are names of the crew of the film. I unfortunately lost a bit on one of the flight manifest, the tickets that Tyler was using to fly around, and unfortunately. But the interesting thing is that within the context of these props, is Jack's character is officially given the name Jack Moore by at least the prop department. Interesting to note. So then, after many a year of wait, actually I should show you the poster. I didn't want to settle for the US 1 sheet. So I finally picked up one of the giant French posters. Let's take a peek at that for a minute. So here is my giant French Fight Club poster. Chaos, confusion, savant. It's hard to tell the size of it. It takes up an entire wall. Here's my finger, and I can scratch Ed Norton's nose. I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Brad Pitt's name is buried behind one of my consoles, so you can't really see it, but this thing is a monstrous behemoth eating up all my wall space. I've got one very similar to it for Better Tomorrow on the other wall, but I had to skip over the 1 sheet and go for this sucker. Someday I'll get it framed. No, I won't. That would cost too much money. We'll just leave it like that. And then flash forward many years, I'd gotten most of this stuff, pretty early on within my Fight Club obsession. And I eventually found a copy of the press kit. The press kit is very, very hard to find a physical of. And yes, you've probably seen it in my show intro, or my channel intro. I had a friend that had been a movie critic for a long time, and he was trying to clear out all his kind of like extra press materials, and he had the press kit. So we'll take a look at this sucker. And then finally, the last holy grail in my collection. The only thing I didn't get was there was a promo soap bar that they gave out. I still haven't picked one of those up, but I've seen them on the market occasionally. Maybe one day I'll get it. But the last holy grail item I wanted to get was the LaserDisc. And after befriending Kevin Kobos of Good Squid, he finally hooked me up with Fight Club on LaserDisc in great condition. And we'll do a proper LaserDisc spotlight review of this sucker soon. It is optically censored. There's a couple parts where there are penises on the screen that have been spliced into the film by Tyler Durden, and those are optically censored. And occasionally the Japanese subtitles will enter the frame. But it's just cool to have it on LaserDisc. This was never released outside of Japan, and it's got a killer AC3 soundtrack on it. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later in a proper spotlight video. But so happy to finally have that. So that's, I think, the bulk of my Fight Club collection. And yeah, the props and all that stuff was a little bit wacky to get that into. But I'm super happy to have that and the LaserDisc and the press kit. So hopefully you guys had fun, and if you're a Fight Club fan, hey, drop some comments below. We'll talk, or we won't, because that's the first and second roll of Fight Club. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you back here for some more videos. Cheers!